Yeah, I mean, I'll first talk a little bit about Glaber, and then I can address that. We're really excited to add Glaber to our mix. First of all, he's a two-time All-Star who at 28 years old is still in his prime. He dominates the strike zone. He has close to 200 plate appearances in the postseason under his belt already. And I should note, we think there's more in there on both sides of the ball. If you go back and look at his season, we saw him tap into a little bit more of his offensive upside in the second half and the postseason. We think there's more in there. Glaber does too. And then defensively, we also think there's more in there. He's going to play second base for us. Cole Keith, who we still believe is a very capable second baseman, is going to move to first base for the 2025 season. He may move back to second base in the future, but for 2025, our best team has Glaber at second base and Colt at first base. And then I will also note, heading into the offseason, I noted to you guys one of our areas of need was more balance in our lineup. We got a little bit too left-handed towards the end of the season. Adding a player with Glaber's track record against left-handed pitching is a significant boost to our lineup. We think he's going to add on base skills. We think he's going to add damage, and we think he's going to be able to protect some of our young but really talented left-handed hitters who will hit in the middle of our lineup in 2025.
Just to follow up, then, what does this mean for Torque?
Sure. So I talked with both Colt and Torque before we made this move. I wanted them to hear it directly from me. So I called both of them and I can share the message in both conversations and my takeaways. So with Colt, he was really fired up. He, you know, that conversation was an energizing reminder of the unselfishness that this team has in the clubhouse. I think we won a lot of games last year because we have a really young, athletic, versatile, and very unselfish group. This group was all in on the in-game moves. It was all in on the position changes. It was all in on hunting matchups. And I think it gave us an edge. And so my conversation with Colt about how we're going to add a bat at second base that we think is going to make us better, and the best position for the 2025 Tigers for you, Colt, is first base. Um, when I shared that with him, he was immediately fired up. He's like, "Hey, I'll play anywhere. I just want to win." And that was such a refreshing reminder of the unselfishness that permeated our entire clubhouse. It was a reminder of the unselfishness that I see with a lot of our players that gives us a real edge. So Cole was really fired up. He knows that he can play second base. He demonstrated that last year, but he also knows that we're a better team if he plays first base in 2025. I also called Torque. My message to Torque was if you have a big offseason and a big spring training, there's a role for you on this team. This team needs more right-handed power, and we've seen Torque do that in the past. He reminded me how hard he's working this offseason, and he seems very determined to demonstrate that he deserves a role on this team too. So this move that we made today, it makes the Tigers better. We got better as an organization today, but it didn't block either of those players.
Thanks. Next, we'll go to Evan Petzold.
Hey Scott, thanks for doing this. Just the
Sure.
trickle
Congrats
effect.
on the baby, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. The trickle down effect with this, obviously, it seems like the right side of the infield, seemingly is set with Glaber at second and then Cole Keith at first base. What does this mean for the left side of the diamond, in particular, third base?
Yeah, it means that we're gonna have a really competitive camp in Lakeland. The roster isn't done yet. It's not even 2025 yet, so there's still some time in the offseason to fully flesh out our roster. But when I stare at our group right now, this is the deepest we've ever been in my tenure here with the Tigers on both sides of the ball. We are gonna have a lot of competition in camp to earn at bats on this team, and that's how we want it. That's what good teams do. This organization has turned. We made the playoffs for the first time last year, and I know our group is coming together or coming to camp really hungry. I talked about how we need to find internal gains and external additions. Adding Gleyber Torres is an external addition, but the internal gains are happening right now behind the scenes. These guys are working really hard on adjustments to their swings and ways to get better defensively. And so I think when we show up in Lakeland, you're going to see there's going to be a ton of competition for plate appearances on the left side of the infield and throughout our roster. Our offense has to get better, and we think Gleyber's going to make us better, but we also think the development from our young guys is going to make us better too.
From the standpoint of internal gains with Colt going to first base, can you share like what kind of work he's doing? Is he visiting with Joey Cora? Like what's all going into that this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this at the winter meetings, but we challenged Colt to start taking ground balls at first base right out of the gate in the offseason. We had a conversation with him, and he was fired up about it, and we connected him directly with Joey. So Joey and Colt have been in constant contact all off season, and they've been working on just some of the finer details of footwork around the bag, decision making with your throws, reads from a different angle on the infield. We're very confident Colt can play first base. Joey's very confident, but we're also going to continue to work with him between now and when we show up in Lakeland to make sure that he's as advanced as we can possibly make him before he gets the spring training reps.
Great. Thank you for this.
Sure.
Let's go to Jason Beck.
Hey, Scott, you referenced, at the start what Gleyber can do for this lineup. It seemed like a lot of that late season success came at the top of the order. When you were looking at that, do you kind of see him as, and I know AJ makes a lot of decisions on this, but did you kind of see him as kind of that leadoff type hitter that could be an option alongside Parker?
Um, You know, AJ gets really restless with his lineup, so he changes it every single day. I don't know exactly where he's going to hit. I do know in his career he has been very productive at virtually every spot in the lineup. He's also led off in the postseason for the New York Yankees. He's a very capable hitter who puts together a professional at bat every single time. Again, uh, he's a player who dominates the strike zone, who makes elite swing decisions at the plate, who makes a ton of contact, and we think there's a lot more damage in there. So he can fit anywhere in our lineup. I'm going to leave it to AJ as to where exactly he's going to put him to help us score the most runs.
And with how much upside do you see? I know, the metrics, at least the publicly available ones, weren't quite so kind to Gleyber at second base. How much do you think the upside is with stuff you guys can do with him and technique? And how much do you think you guys can improve in terms with him? Just the way you guys position and the way you guys work your infield as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, from the very first conversation that we had with Glaber this offseason, we talked about how we think there's more in there. We think he can get better on both sides of the ball. Um, Glaber believes that too. He had a lot of opportunity to go to different places this winter on longer deals than the one he took, but his agents were very upfront with me about his desire to bet on himself. And honestly, that made me want him more. He's had multiple conversations with Joey Cora already about his defense. We think Joey Cora is one of the best infield guys in the game right now. And those two are already talking about refining some of the smaller aspects of his play at second base to get a little bit more out of him. Some things like, for example, like the angles that he is taking and some of the finer details of infield play that, honestly are above my head too. But fortunately, we have a guy like Joey. I think one other takeaway from, this whole experience landing Gleyber Torres is his agents were very upfront about how he wants to go to a place where he can get better and win at the same time. I think Detroit represents that type of environment now. Our players last year demonstrated that we can win here, and our coaching staff, AJ, and our development infrastructure have demonstrated over the last 2 years that a lot of players can come here and get better. And so I think Glaber found this as an appealing place because he knows he can come here, get better, and win at the same time. And that's what we want to be. We want to embody that in Detroit. And it's a vote of confidence for us to have a player who's a two-time All-Star with Glaber's track record want to come here because he's seen other players come here and get better. And it's a huge compliment to AJ and his staff and all of the development staff for what they're doing behind the scenes to help get a little bit more out of pitchers and position players in Detroit.
You kind of hinted at this, but to get this combination of performance, postseason experience, and the guy of Glaber's age on a 1-year deal, just in your experience, how unique of an opportunity was this?
It was unique enough that we were very aggressive to try to land it. I mean, I was on the phone for most of Christmas Eve, which my family didn't really appreciate, but we feel like we got better today. We feel like adding Glaber made us better, and we feel like he's going to make the players around him a lot better. Um, so we, again, as I said early in the offseason, we returned our entire playoff team, and we're going to add to it this winter and throughout the year next year as more of the youth movement hits Detroit. So we feel like this organization is headed in the right direction. We feel like there's a lot of momentum here, and we feel like Glaber can add to it with this unique opportunity to add a multi-time All-Star who's still in his prime.
Thank you.
Sure.
Go back to Chris.
Scott, you mentioned it's not 2025 yet, and there's still things you're looking to do. At third base, can you tell us, are you still in on somebody high shelf guy like Bregman, or are you still working on the left side of the infield?
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on any current free agent. I can just tell you we are already working to continue to get better. So we are trying to find ways to make this organization better. We feel like we already did with Alex Cobb and Gleyber Torres, but we're going to continue to find ways to get better. I mean, if you remember, we signed guys, when we were already in Lakeland last year,
Yeah, Gio.
and the year before too. So we're going to keep working. You guys know me. I can't really sit on my hands, so I'm going to try to continue to help this group get better. But I really like where we're at right now.
Thanks.
Go to Roger Castillo.
Hey, Scott. And a
Hey,
question
Roger.
to Justin Henry Malloy, too. He's going to get some time at first base, that was just discussed. How's that going to, in terms of room for him with Keith and Torkelson?
Yeah, I mean, Jahan's going to continue to get work at first base. I think you saw with our group last year that when AJ makes in-game moves, it creates some opportunity for other players to play different positions. You saw Andy Ibanez play a bunch of first base, late in games last year when we would hit for torque and different things. So we're going to make sure that we have as much depth as possible at every position. Jahan is going to factor in at first base in some way. But again, we're going to have a really competitive camp, and guys are going to have to earn opportunity on this team. I will also note that, you guys hear me talk about depth all the time because we're going to need all this depth. Throughout the summer, we're going to need all of this as injuries and underperformance and all of the, ups and downs of the season hit us. Like, we feel like we're going to enter opening day with a really good team on the field in Los Angeles and a really good team in Toledo too. And we're going to need all of those guys if we're going to achieve our goals in the 2025 season.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Sure.
Evan Woodbury.
Hey, Scott, going back to Torque for a second, you mentioned there's still a role that he could play on this team. Would that be in the sense of a platoon guy, pinch hitter? And is there any thought of expanding his versatility, encouraging him, maybe not third base, but whether corner outfield or anything like that to kind of, expand the number of things that he could do?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to introduce him to any new positions. But with the DH plate appearances and opportunity at first base in game, there are still plenty of plate appearances for him. Again, we need him to have a big offseason and make some adjustments and perform in spring training. And if he does, we're confident there's going to be a role for him. Exactly what that role looks like, it's TBD. We got to see what the rest of the offseason gives us. But again, like, this offseason, or I mean, this lineup needs more right-handed power, and having a guy like Tor who can produce right-handed power, as we've seen in the past, can be a boost for us. So there will be opportunity for him. I don't think it'll be at any positions other than first base or DH, but there is opportunity for him.
Thank you.
Okay, go back to Jason.
Hey, Scott, just following up, you referenced working most of Christmas Eve on this one. How has the free agent market played out? I guess in recent days, usually we're used to the holiday season being fairly quiet. Sometimes you get some deals here and there.
You and
Has
me
this
both.
been a little bit busier than you would have expected? Just kind of the way the market in general has played out, not just specific to you guys.
It's a good question. I don't know that I have stopped and reflected on it. There are so many trades and free agent signings that we work on that don't ever see the light of the day. So it's kind of hard to really tell. Like, this one happened right around Christmas. I definitely have worked on some in the past that have happened right around Christmas, and I've worked on a million in the past that didn't actually happen. Um, so it's been sort of normal, I feel like, for me, but maybe I'll spend some time reflecting on it and produce a better quote for you. But it seems fairly standard, I think.
And since we have you here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the rookie Sasaki status, since well, most of the other GMs seem to, and presidents of baseball operations seem to be getting asked about it. Have you guys gotten any follow up on that? And were you guys able to make any sort of presentation?
Yeah, we submitted all our materials and our presentation to Roki's agent, Joel Wolf. We understand that we are supposed to hear back after the holidays on meetings after the holidays with him. We haven't heard back yet, but we have submitted all of our materials and we're waiting to hear back.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Looks like all we got. Scott, thank you. And everyone have a happy new year.
Thanks, guys.
Same
Happy
back.
holidays.
Thanks, Scott.